It was Tuesday night, and the second time Rodolfo, the restaurant manager, approached our dinner table. This time he was a little more troubled. "Are you sure you guys are okay?" he said with a little more firmness. Why would he say that, you might ask? Well, it wasn't to check the temperature of our food. That was fine, very good in fact. He was instead checking on the rising temperature of our conversation. Ever been in a dinner conversation like this? I have, and maybe you have too. If so, we both know what they are like. This was a common scene between my nonprofit client's founder and me. The second such discussion in that very same restaurant, in fact. They should have known. The founder and I had a special relationship. It was built upon trust earned over years of working together. Only a trusted advisor can have a relationship such as this, and I was his, or one of his, because he sought the counsel of many. As the manager stood guard over us, I assured him that we were just doing fine. We were only going over the monthly review of my client's strategic plan, I added. We reviewed personnel, performance, and the potential for raising additional funds to help more people in need. In hindsight, we owed those around us an apology. Not for what we said, because all was spoken politely and professionally, but for the temperance and the tone of the conversation. They didn't understand. Few would, but we did. The founder CEO and I had that kind of relationship, and he wouldn't settle for less. He challenged me to be better, and in turn, challenged himself to be better, just as it should be. Perhaps you have such a trusted advisor relationship, one that respectfully works with you to ferret out issues, dangers, and opportunities for your growth and impact. As the founder of a mid-level nonprofit that was growing rapidly, this leader depended on me to give him unbiased observations and a deeper understanding of his organization. We explored his uncovered trends and the unseen patterns in his operation. Those issues that can only be seen from the outside looking in and not from the inside looking out. You know, the forest and the trees perspective. Too often, as a nonprofit expands, it reaches a series of plateaus, those caused by exceeding the present level of internal skills and abilities. Insight, awareness, evaluation, and expertise all start to suffer from the Peter Principle. You may recall that this is the situation that plays out when a staff member, or an entire team for that matter, reaches a point of diminishing understanding, insight, and capacity for continued growth. The upside is that the organization's team has developed and helped it to get where it is today. All to be congratulated for their good work, no issue there. The downside is they may be permanently limited in being able to move up to the next plateau without the benefit of gaining greater experience, exposure, and explanation. You might have heard this concept being called the "what got you out of Egypt won't get you into the promised land." In brief, this means the talents and tenets that helped you grow into your present situation may now be the very constraints that prevent you from growing further. As you develop, your nonprofit needs different skills. It also needs newer considerations and capabilities than those you employed on the first part of your journey. This insightful CEO knew this. He was a wise, adventurous, and forward-thinking person. He never let what he had keep him from having what he didn't have. He sought outside counsel. He asked for new perspectives. He wasn't intimidated by his own lack of understanding or his not always having the right answer. He was unafraid of not knowing. Often he and I share the expression of, quote, "we don't know what we don't know until we know what we don't know," end quote. Or, as Mark Twain is alleged to have said, quote, "it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so that does," end quote. This founder knew what he didn't have, and he knew where to look for what he needed so he could have what he didn't have. As a result, his struggling organization one that had been passed over by other agencies because he was too small, grew under our guidance into one of the largest international nonprofits in the world, raising over $1 billion in aid. His knowing, through the awareness of a trusted advisor, what he didn't have helped him to get what he needed to be where he wanted to be. His limited internal resources didn't prevent his expanded external aspirations. He was careful to avoid the same messages being said by the same messengers, people who at many levels reflected under self-preservation and not always about what was in the best interest of the organization. In physics, this is called recursive reflection. This occurs with the fading repetition of an original sound, signal, or concept, like an echo. It diminishes over time through each cascading wave of sound, or like the reflective images in one of those infinity mirrors. Each time the image is repeated, it is smaller and further away from its point of origin. In management, this is called strategic blindness. This is where insular environments consistently lead to severe competitive disadvantages and missed opportunities. Stifled innovation and legacy thinking can lead to the recirculation of pre-validated opinions. It can direct leadership to falsely assume their historical perspectives are still flawless. It can also cause an organization to be trapped into avoiding new directions, technologies, and possibilities. It's easy for individuals to remain in echo chambers where their and fellow staff member beliefs are continually reinforced while alternative perspectives are bypassed. Perception, conformity, and false consensus are often represented and protected by basic survival instincts. Perception, as we know it, is subjective. It is shaped by experience, culture, and personal biases. Conformity can reign even when it is known or felt to be incorrect. A closed environment breeds its own form of universal acceptance. Selective exposure and confirmation bias create their own lens of conformity and validation. This is why subjective reality becomes even stronger when mixed with social pressures of conformity. Much of the time, internal resources follow this pattern with the best of intent. They know what they know or think they know and follow that thinking. It's only natural. Survival is said to be one of the strongest instincts. This is also why an external voice in the wilderness can become a valued asset and companion to a nonprofit leader like you. Professor Kate Sweeney, an award-winning behavioral science researcher, formally defined the term information avoidance in her notable 2010 paper. That finding has driven continued studies in behavioral economics by Russell Goldman and George Lowenstein, who coined the term ostrich effect. Your head in the sand. In wisdom literature, the book of Proverbs points out in chapter 11 that when we are convinced that we are right, we are also not to be surprised when we fall on our faces. Further, in chapter 15, there is an insight reminding us that our plans can fail for lack of counsel, yet with many advisors, they can succeed. So back to the sizzling discussion over our simple meal. The nonprofit leader and I both thought we were right. The difference was we both were willing to challenge each other over our own protective perceptions. And that in and of itself provides the menu for the meaningful discourse and discovery. Iron sharpens iron. This is the grinding of the crucible, the steps needed to explore, expose, and even expunge those decisions, directions, and dialogues that help us better figure out what works and what doesn't. This comes through time, test, and talent, both from internally and externally trusted counsel. So in closing, who is your trusted advisor? Do you have one, or perhaps even two? No man or woman is an island. We all have our different views of the same reality and landscape around us. The encouragement is to seek out a trusted advisor, buy him or her a meal, and then have a go at it. However, it might help to inform the restaurant manager ahead of time that you brought your own hot sauce and that yes, you are doing just fine. As you do, you can be confident that you are both on the same road to the same castle. You are just seeing the journey a little different with a fresh set of external eyes and how best to get there. Until the next issue of Castle Roads, travel well. E. Paul.